let's start the Sri Lankan Microsoft Biceps monthly meetup. So this is the 20th meetup that we are going to have. And today we're going to discuss on the introduction to the Microsoft Supply Chain Center, which is a new product recently came into the market and which is still in preview stage. And we will learn more about it. And let's get into the session as well. So just to improve the bandwidth, I'll just turn off the camera, but feel free to ask if you have any questions, and then we'll start the session now. So a bit about myself. I'm a solution architect uh, at HSO, and I have more than 11 plus years of working experience with FinOps, and it started with Dynamics 6 as well. And I've experience working with the Dynamics 365 custom engagement and Power Platform, and active in the Dynamics and Power Platform communities as well. And I'm actually doing the organizing as for the Sri Lankan Dynamics 365 user group as well as the Power Platform user group. So if you haven't add me in LinkedIn, please feel free to add me. I have all the links and then also the website as well as Twitter and the YouTube channel as well. So let's get into the session. So let's start about let's get into the agenda and then let's see what we're going to cover today. So agenda is about the recent. So I'll get started with the recent challenges in supply chain industry. So that's one of the key reasons that Microsoft come up with this product. So that's the challenges that the supply chain industry is facing. So that's one of the key factors that when Microsoft is coming up with this product. And next up is you might hear on the reimagining supply chains on because of the various things happened recently because of the wars, because of the pandemic situation. So we'll get into details on stuff like that, and then we'll get an example and then see how we can reimagine supply chain. Um, so we'll do that as well, and then we'll get into the supply chain resiliency and then learn more on the Microsoft Supply Chain Platform, as well as what's Microsoft Supply Chain Center, which is what's the key topic today. And then there are various topics to cover under the Microsoft Supply Chain Center, and then we'll get into the demo part of it as well. And let's get into the recent challenges um, that are faced by everyone pretty much facing these supply chain challenges recently. So if you see on the left side of it, you have that backlogs and the bottlenecks on the supply chain turmoil. So this is actually taken from the IMF, and you can see how the turmoil happened from 2018 to 2021 period. The suppliers' delivery times, how it's been fluctuated, and the impact that it has happened. So the lead times has gone up, and also you can see in the middle part of the picture that you have the bullwhip effect. That is actually the supply chain phenomena that is actually describing how the fluctuations in demand at the retail level can cause progressively larger fluctuations. So example in this case is actually the toilet paper. So the toilet paper, there was a high demand or kind of a sudden demand for the toilet papers, and then what are the ripple impact or the bullwhip effect back into the over ordering and under ordering, and and how it been flow through to the customers, to retailers, manufacturers, and suppliers. So that's kind of a sudden changes happening in the supply chain industry, which is actually impacting the wholesale distributor manufacturer and also the raw material suppliers, and everyone is affected by these kind of changes. And also that HBR has conducted a research, and they have mentioned that 65% of executives citing that the lack of access to the real-time supply chain data as real obstacle that they are facing at the moment. So that's why these um, um, new systems or the technological advancements for the supply chain would come in handy. And so if an organization have a single integrated platform of modern which can actually give you much more visibility into your supply chain, that will be real critical. And go back, sorry, just moved my slides. And then if you think about some of the issues that are facing at the moment, if you think about Russia and Ukraine war, and then the pandemic, which everyone is, remembered what has happened, and also there are certain things happened as well, like global container shortage as well. So that's one of the supply chain, impacts which came after the once the pandemic hit, and then straight away the global container shortage was another factor. Increased in lead times, as we talked about earlier, and then logistics providers capacity issues are another factor. And then inflation is happening at the moment as well, shipping delays, increased in freight cost, and inventory levels are depleted as well. And there are labor shortages and demand peaks and driver shortages. So you name it, there are lots of various stuffs happening in supply chain. So that you need to act really fast, really quick in order to have a sustainable supply chain, and to make sure that your organization is actually able to cope up with that supply chain changes which is happening in the market. And then how you react, and how you come up with answers for those changes basically. So one of the things that we can think about is steep plate analysis. That is actually a strategic planning methodology. So if you think about the things that we were talking about earlier, social, the technological, economic. So this is actually having steep plate is having social, technological, economic analysis, environmental analysis, political analysis, legislative, and ethical, demographic. So if you think about one of the things that we discuss is the Russia and Ukraine war. So that's actually coming under the political. So likewise, if you do this kind of analysis, then you can actually understand what are the supply chain challenges that you're facing, and that can help your business. And then technology is one part of that, a part of that analysis, and that is really coming handy. So when I go into the next example on reimagining the supply chains, I would explain more on that, how the technology comes in handy. And then it's not a all, I mean, technology is really key as well. And then there are other aspects as well that we, as an organization, need to think about. But the technology plays a real vital part of it as well. So that's the important thing that we need to understand. And this is one of the analysis methodology, that planning methodology, that is used by the businesses for the supply chain, to track the external risk and evaluate and organize, discover the challenges that they're facing. And and this helps to develop your supply chain, and also help your business approach and facilitate your growth as well. So there are a lot of various stuff that will be helpful once you do this analysis, so that it would give you a lot of ideas on what are the challenges that, as an organization, that you're facing, and then how you should be coping up. So that's where the technology is a vital part, and that's really important to have a system which is robust and able to cope up with those challenges immediately, because it's changing. And the thing is that you're not able to suddenly change your systems. And is there a way that you can use existing systems and get all the data into a certain platform, a supply chain platform basically, and then get some actions based on the insights that you can get out of it, right? So let's look at one of the examples basically. So reimagining supply chain. So this is again coming back to the same example of the toilet paper. So if you see what has happened in the panic buying behavior, which is on the left side of it. So if you see what's the challenges that people actually suddenly um, there's a huge demand or panic buying, because maybe there might be a rumor or maybe there might be a shortage on the supplies, and then um, people actually go into it. This is in US, and even it's the same back in New Zealand and Australia as well. There was a huge demand suddenly, and then people started, going into the supermarkets and then buying all those whatever available toilet papers, and then the government had to step in and then reduce, the number of maximum uh, toilet paper rolls that you can take in. So that's there have been some changes as well from the government side as well. But I mean, you can see what's the impact that has given, because it's, tier one, tier two, and in tier three. If you have suppliers like tier one, tier two, tier three suppliers, and then you might be having a toilet paper factory which is actually running it, and then once it's been manufactured, factories cannot keep actually pace with the surge in the demand that time. So deliveries were very slow, and there were stoppages, and then, the government have to intervene, and there have been a lot of challenges like that. So it's really a challenge when you have that kind of a situation. So how would you modify your supply chain, to help with it? So if you look at the second part of the right side of it, so if you see the toilet paper factory, and actually the relationship type for the tier one, tier two, tier three, how it has been changed, in the second part of the image, to cope up with this supply chain. So you have to reimagine your supply chain, and change your supply chain. So if you see in this, that the companies need to collaborate more closely with all the tier suppliers, which is what we see. And even that you have to, work with your competitor firms as well in this kind of situation. So that's the other part of it. And if you see that the post COVID-19, which that you need to come up with the different investments in building your warehouses, and probably different technological advancements, and those things has to be there, because you need to be actually resiliently come up with solutions. How do you tackle these kind of situation? Because if you have your information within your fingertips, then you can actually take, for example, you might have a tier one supply in, probably, let's say, maybe in Ukraine, and then the war started. So you need to look at, your tier two or tier three, or maybe make another tier one supplier. How do you tackle in that kind of situation? Because once these situations occur, so that if you have a system that can track based on the news, based on the other outcomes. So if you can do that, that will be fantastic. That when you have the insights, that will be helpful for you to take the decisions. So that's what we need to. That's why the companies are also looking at ways of imagining the reimagining their supply chains, and come up with certain ways that they can tackle the issues, basically. So that's why the information and having a proper system would be really critical. Having that visibility into your supply chain at your fingertips, it's going to be a real key aspect in here. And supply chain resiliency is another thing that's been discussed. So the supply chain resilience is the ability, to respond quickly to the unexpected events, which we were discussing earlier. So that's one of the unexpected events, that how we can, um, how we can respond it quickly in this kind of situation, right? But also we need to prevent that the mitigating any disruptions in the supply chain as well in this kind of situation. And for an example, if there's a extreme weather condition, or a natural disaster, or maybe a war, or some other kind of a huge disruption happen to your supply chain needs to be flexible and resilient enough to respond and to the disruption. And also you need to quickly detect it as well, because if you detect it later, then you might not have much chances or much time left to work with it, because your downstream, or your demand is actually been increasing here, but you're not able to supply to your, or you're not being able to meet your demand basically with your supply. So that's the other thing. So you need to be coping up, or you need to be acting in that kind of situation very fast. So how would you respond in that kind of a situation? So that's going to be really important. That's why the supply chain modernization, or if you come with the long-term supply chain solutions, that's what's gonna look at later on, what kind of a solution that Microsoft is providing in this kind of a environment that the supply chain has been faced with many challenges. So what are the things that we need to look at? And if you look at these days, that the sustainability is a real key thing as well. So the increasing sustainability demand is pretty much evident these days, and it is not about being sustainable, but you would also require to do the reporting for the sustainability as well, right? And it is important to in your perspective as an organization, it is important to know how much your partners are emitting to the emitting CO2 back into the environment as well, so that because you need to capture all these data points when you're doing the reporting. So that's why the Microsoft come up with this Microsoft supply chain platform that would help you to do this sustainability tracking, as well as modernizing your supply chain solutions. And you can look at how much your stock availability at a given point of time, because you may be having multiple systems, right? You might be dealing with, if you're a large organization, you might be having multiple organizations which will be giving you orders, or maybe multiple commerce solutions that you have. So you need to you be getting these orders from different parties, and then you have a certain number of vendors, different lots of vendors, or maybe you might have key 10 suppliers that you need to be um, really tracking what's happening around, what's the environment, what's been happening, um, that because you have to react quickly, right? So that's what you have to do. So basically, that the you need to have supply chain resiliency to in order to be facing this kind of challenges that what the businesses are facing. So they need to adapt. They need to come up with sustainable products, because the sustainable products have a lot of demand and people are buying if it's a more sustainable product. And then also you need to look at the circular economy part of it as well, and supply chain modernization, long-term solutions. How do you look at your stock availability and plan ahead? So these are really critical things that you need to be addressing basically. So these are the challenges, and this is how the supply chain resiliency should coming. And then let's look at what Microsoft has as an answer for these. What we discussed earlier. So what Microsoft came up with, Microsoft Supply Chain Platform. So that is what is going to be helpful in this kind of situation to quickly adapt, and uh, then have to address these kind of situations. So first of all, it actually helps to maximize the existing supply chain investment. So what it means basically, might be having multiple let's say multiple ERP systems. You might be having SAP to do some sort of work, or maybe part of your organization is running SAP, and part of your organization might be running Dynamics 365 FinOps, or maybe they might be running another the platform. So, or maybe it's a separate commerce platform which is taking orders or something like that. So there are certain systems that you have at the moment, but how would you use those systems without ripping those apart, but quickly utilizing whatever the systems that you have, bring those into the supply chain platform, probably into the Microsoft Supply Chain Center. And then how do you tackle your supply chain issues by bringing in those information back into the supply chain platform, as well as the Microsoft Supply Chain Center. So if you see under the Microsoft Supply Chain platform, Microsoft Supply Chain Center is one of the products, and then you have Power Automate, Power Apps, Dataverse, and Dynamics 365 supply chain management. So there are, and also the Azure products as well, Azure Machine Learning, Azure Synapse, Power BI, Microsoft 365 Teams, and the Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability. So the Cloud for Sustainability is actually empowering the organizations to accelerate the sustainability progress, and businesses grow by bringing together a set of environmental, so that's actually called ESG, environmental, social, and governance capabilities across the Microsoft Cloud. And so that Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability is actually empowering the accelerate the sustainability progress and growth by bringing together a set of environmental, social, and governance capabilities, which we were discussing earlier. And so that really helps, right? So that's where the Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability comes into play, and all these products are in the cloud, so that's where it's really agile and then efficient and sustainable as well. And then the visibility is really key as well, and then you have the Power Platform to support and extend if you want any of these things. And if you want to do a machine learning kind of AI ML scenarios, and if you want to do reporting, you have Azure Synapse, so you can bring those information. So when we go into the Microsoft Supply Chain Center, I'll show you where the data is. Data is back in the Dataverse environment, and then you can bring those in data back into your Azure Synapse, and then to reporting, and you have Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability help you to report on the sustainability aspect as well. So there's this is actually the software as a service applications, and it is actually leveraging the full Microsoft capabilities, right? Cloud capabilities, and it uses the building blocks that we were discussing earlier, the Microsoft Azure, Dynamics 365, Microsoft Teams, Power Platform, as well as Office 365. So all these aspects are used, and so it's like depending on your requirement, you can take these building blocks and build whatever you wanted to build for your organization. And then if you want something to be enhanced or extended later on, you can add as well, because that's the beauty of this Microsoft Supply Chain platform basically, right? So that's um, good on the Microsoft Supply Chain platform. And then let's go into the Microsoft Supply Chain Center, which is in the preview at this moment, and that is what's the key topic for the day on today's discussion. And I will be later on going into the demo to show you on the Supply Chain Center what we can do using the Supply Chain Center. So basically, if you look at the Microsoft Supply Chain Center, what are the capabilities? So if you look at, there might be some finance systems, inventory systems, or ERPs, warehouse management system, or ISV solution systems, which would help to extend the supply chain center. Or you might have existing your ERP, which you don't want to repeat basically. So that's what Microsoft mentioning, is that you are adding incremental value without costly rip and replace. So you don't intend to rip and replace it. Basically, you're trying to use the existing one for the moment, because you need to act quickly, right? You don't have much time basically, because you need to be resilient and you need to be agile in your supply chain. So how would you do that? So i- how you can do that basically is you can leverage on whatever the systems that you have currently, and then bring it back the data and the information that's required to the supply chain center. Later on we will see how that data can be captured back into the supply chain center and utilize it internally. And so basically, you can use that supply chain center to bring all those information, and then internally you have several modules as well. I'll explain on the modules. So one of the modules is intelligent order management. And there are certain I think couple of ISV solutions as well that you can extend, and you have external news sources which can help you to bring in the news on the latest updates on your partners. So that's what the supply chain center basically having. So it is having basically the partners in the sense that your customers and vendors basically become the partners, and then partners, the news on your partners will be sourced to you, and then that will be really key for you to capture. If there's anything happening around the world, for one of your partners, and then you can quickly look at it, and then you can look at through the impact that it's having to you. and then you can react on top of it, right? So that's basically what you can do. And the suppliers portal, and then suppliers data as well. So you can actually request to from your suppliers, the suppliers, to provide the data that's required for you to do the analytics basically, and then you can also bring them into your suppliers portal. You can invite them basically. So the suppliers portal is actually using the Power Pages as a solution here. And then you have intelligent order management. So that helps you to orchestrate, your uh, orchestrate the supply chain scenarios. You can do that using the intelligent order management, and then you have also supply demand insights as well. So this is actually enterprise grade, a new solution that is actually unlocking the supply chain resiliency basically. And as I mentioned earlier, it you don't need to do the costly rip and replace stuff, and unifies from disparate systems. That means taking from multiple systems basically, and includes with the capabilities such as order management, supply and demand insights, and supply portal and news. And intelligent order management is part of MSCC. It's part of a module as well. So once we go into the system, we can show later on we can see that. So let's look at the architecture of the MSCC basically, or the MSCC is the Microsoft Supply Chain Center. That's the short term, or the acronym that we can use. And this is actually, as we mentioned earlier, this is actually built on top of a Power Platform, and there are several components which has been used. So such as Dataverse is one of the supply chain center. We actually use the ingesting, storing and managing all supply chain data into this Dataverse basically. So you'll have the database SQL tables as well. So that's what's there. And then you have data schema. So supply chain center is actually expecting all its data to be in a conform to a common schema. So if it's in a common schema, it's gonna be relatively easy for you to do. The supply chain center schema is based on the Microsoft Azure Synapse database template schema, and it helps you to do various AI, MI stuff using that common schema. That's why it comes in. And it'll also do helps you to do the ingestion as well. These the components part of when we're discussing on the component, the ingestion is one of the other things as well that we need to be discussing. Earlier we actually mentioned that you can connect to your source ERP systems. It could be Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. It might be some other ERP system probably, or um, you can actually use the Microsoft Power Query data flows, or you can use the Power Query basically to connect into different databases, or maybe it could be in Azure Synapse or some other the place that you can actually take those data back into the ingestion. And transactional data is also key. So data for all OLTP scenarios, such as the order management is stored in the database SQL tables, basically. So likewise, there are several components that you can discuss about, and then it also have this ability to select the different modules from the module library. And so later on, we will see what are the modules that's available. Um, MSCC modules are installed as solutions in the Power Platform environment, so it uses the Power Platform environment. So we'll see that as well. So once you run a trial, basically, you can actually get into the it'll actually behind the scene. It'll create a Power Platform environment basically, and we can see that once we go into the demo later on. And it consists of dedicated web portal. So that's the web portal we were talking about earlier on the Power Pages. So you have a suppliers portal, which you can invite your suppliers back into the portal, right? And then you can ask them to provide your data, which over the format that you want to have, basically based on the schemas available from the Microsoft Supply Chain Center, MSCC. And you can leverage Power Automate to trigger and orchestrate workflows to tie your supply chain center data and events as well. So that's the beauty. Um, so you can see on the architecture what are the stuff available. So if you look at here, You have admin and IT user who can use the modules distribution via app source and the partner center. And there's data ingestion that we were discussing here. And then the customer power platform environment, supply demand insights, intelligent order management, right? All these. And then once you have the data, basically you can actually take those data back into the the Dataverse is here. You have the transactional store, managed data lake, and artificial intelligence reporting infrastructure. So that's and also the web portal as well, which the business users um, use these modules, reports, and collaboration. There are a lot of collaboration capabilities which comes with that as well with your partners. So that's the architecture basically on that. And let's look at the module library. So the module library wise, we have supply and demand insights, and the news, intelligent order management. Uh, there are ISV modules as well. There are a couple of ISV modules. I think overhaul visibility is one of them, and there's another one as well, which we can see later on once we go into the system. Basically, on the Microsoft Supply Chain Center. Um, so MACC basically group similar functionalities into the modules that have focused on specific areas. So that's the key. That's the key part of it. And there are several capabilities which are actually coming at the moment, and some of them are actually there, like Try Smart News enhancements. So there are different capabilities which comes with that. So what basically Try Smart News enhancements basically helps you to um, basically helps the users to learn on the important supply chain disruptions which are happening to your suppliers, and then it will be actually filtered by different categories as well. So you can see that once we go into the system, so there are different categories that the news you can actually filter on, and real-time inventory dashboard as well. So new functionalities in D365, IOM, or the intelligent order management provides customers with the access to the dashboards that offer the near real time insight to the inventory. That's really helpful, having the real time inventory dashboards, allowing the customers to plan and make remediation where it's needed. So that's been actually coming as per Microsoft March 2023. Right. So with that, let's go into the system. Let's see, look at the demo on that. So let's look at the Microsoft Supply Chain Center, and then we'll do some demos. So that would help us to understand more on this product basically. So we have so this is basically the Microsoft Supply Chain Center. So there is a link which you can actually use to um, create or have your trial generated within your environment. So once you generate your trial, basically you will see this kind of a view in a home page. This is the home, and the supply and demand is one of the modules. So basically, let's go into the module and see what are available here. So this is what you can see basically in terms of the module library. We can see supply and demand insights, news. So this helps you to stay up to date on your current events on your partners basically. And then intelligent order management as well. So intelligent order management, which comes as a add-in or a module, basically as a module, separate module for the Microsoft Supply Chain Center. So that's really key. And this is one of the ISV solutions overall visibility. So that's actually it's a scalable supply chain visibility and risk management platform, which can help you to see your shipments and logistics and stuff like that. And then um, it'll actually give you a better visibility, better tracking, and better risk management perspective on your supply chain basically. So this is one of the solutions overall visibility. That's an ISV, and then there's another ISV from CH Robinson. So you can get the real-time visibility and the connectivity to your global supply chain. So you can actually install these modules separately. So once you click install, then it'll go continue. So basically it'll go into the app source, and then you could continue on installing those apps inside here. So once you have those modules would be appearing here, and then you will be able to use that. So that's where it is, and you can go get it now and then use it in your um, part of the supply chain center, right? So that's where it's key, because you have standard out of the box modules as well as ISV modules coming into the picture, and those are appearing here. So you have supply and demand insights here. So when you have information or the data available, you would have all the Power BI visuals and reports available for you to see, or for the supply and demand insight. So that's one of the key capabilities which is there basically, which helps you to get the insights into the module. That's actually enabled by the default. So the module actually shows the health of the supply chain through an analytics dashboard, since we don't have information or the data on that. So that's why we don't see anything here. But if you have data available for here, or for this section, supply and demand insights, then you would be actually seeing the charts as well as the graphs and charts here basically. And let's look at the news section. So the news section is basically, as I mentioned, so that would actually be in different categories. So if you go into the settings, you actually can enable your different categories. So if you don't want to see a certain category, let's say you don't want to see on quality, you could basically disable the quality and save it. So that would actually enable your new settings. Why this? You might be wondering why this news is actually really important, because if your partners, let me show you my partners here. So I've just take an example: Microsoft Fabric and Supplier as well as FTX, because FTX is basically very popular these days on the bankrupt. So that's why I wanted to test it out to see whether it's been actually, we can see anything under the bankruptcy and acquisition and collaboration, because I don't have anything on this. Just hypothetically, I just put in this FTX to see whether the information being captured. So if you see, it's been actually capturing this information and giving you uh, you know bankruptcy notifications on, if you are dealing with this kind of a vendor, if they become bankrupt, then you will be directly getting that information under these categories. All right, so that's why these categories are important. So you have all the information will be showing under here. So that's why we have FTX plus F Fabricam and the Microsoft. So the Microsoft information as well. Or this is and also you will be seeing that whether it's having a positive impact or a negative impact. So if you look at the example of the FTX, you have a future impact. That will be not a good impact for you in the future. So that's why it's showing here. So that's a good great capability to have. So you have you have that news section which actually tracks on your running a behind running a running that machine learning models basically, and which is giving you the information that are relevant for your organization according to the partners that you have been provided here. So that's great. So you have company financial disruption. So if you have a weather disruption and a weather situation, then you'll be seeing data here, right? So likewise, there's a separate categories, and then you can actually, based on these categories, you can see that, right? So that's really important part of the supply chain, Microsoft Supply Chain Center. I believe there will be a lot of features we'll come up with this, but for the moment, what we can see basically, that's what we can see. We can see the news. We can see that label, which is it having a future impact or not? So I think the learn impacts. Let me see. We can go into the learn impacts and we can see impacted partners. Who are the partners? So that's what we can do like at the moment. But certainly I believe there will be a lot of features will be coming in, and this is really handy tool to have, find out your news and stuff like that. And I'll go into the personal settings. You can do some personal settings here. So all the menus here. So probably getting to the bit about the understanding, bit about the learning, the basic of the basics here. So basically, you have a feedback section, right? you can provide a feedback, and you have a notification. So if you have examples of this case, actually, if you contact, I actually link my contact to a supplier, so that's why. So I had a contact called Chris Pereira, so I'll show how to do that later on. So this is a notification which came as part of the activity that I've done, right? So there's notifications are there, and then you can provide your feedback here. And also you have notifications which you discuss, and then we have the settings as well. So this is the personal settings. You can do the personal settings here. So what is available currently is you can select your language. So these are the languages available, and then you have startup checklist, module library. You can turn on your module library, and then you can show onboarding task on the home page. So if you want to show onboarding task on the home page, you can do that. And you have a help section as well. So you for documentation, all those details are there. And then if you have a profile picture, you can see that profile picture as well, basically. And then on the left's navigation pane. So this is the navigation pane which we have all the menu buttons. You have a hamburger as well here. So the hamburger would help you to minimize, and sometimes. So this is actually refers to as the hamburger, basically, right? It minimizes, give you more space here, right? And also you have this is actually the Microsoft. So just pay attention here, Microsoft Supply Chain Center preview. So if you basically go into the home, here you can go into the admin center. So you have Power Platform Admin Center and the admin center. So if you click here, it actually opens you the Microsoft Supply Chain Center preview admin center. So that's the admin center. So this is actually the Microsoft Supply Chain Center. This is the main center, and then you have a separate admin center as well. And similarly, you can also go to the Power Platform Admin Center as well from here. So let's look at what we have on the Supply Chain Center Admin Center. We have My Data section. So the My Data is basically you can bring in your data. So actually, I'm showing all the data available here. So otherwise, if I filter for the supply chain demands, so it'll give me all these. So let's say reorder stock only. So what we need for the reorder stock, these are the, so basically I need these information or these entities to be imported. And then that would help me to bring in the supply chain and demand insights. If I say, oh, I would have production, shipping, partners, right? I think, yeah, I have done one of these, refresh these settings. So let's edit the connection and let me show what we can do in here. So basically, if you see, you can see the attributes here. You can see what are the key attributes for that entity, and that has to be pretty much mapped out. Basically, what you do here, you actually can utilize your data, basically. So let me configure the connection. Let me connect it. So actually, I'm using the P365 FinOps um, data back into the vendors using the OData connection. But I mean, OData might not be the best option, but because I have a separate trial environment not linked to the environment, so that's why I'm using the OData method. But definitely you have different capability, Azure Synapse, or if you have the data back in the Azure Data Lake, ADL, or if you have it in a separate database, or maybe it's coming from a different database, that will be available. I'll show you later on what are the options that's available there. And so basically what we can do is basically, well, we will actually get all those information here. Then you do that, query here. You're applying the steps, different steps. You can remove the certain columns that you don't want, and then you basically can choose your column. So if I click on the map to CDM entity, so that's where you have actually capability to auto map it. If you have, it'll actually basically look at the names, basically, and then it'll actually auto map it based on that. Or If not, you can actually map those, basically selecting whichever the field we want to map against vendor type ID. Don't have vendor type ID. Probably vendor ID. Yeah, let's say vendor account number is my vendor ID. Likewise, you can actually map it, but I don't want to do it because I already mapped it out, this one. So likewise, you get the understanding. So you pretty much bringing in from the Power Query whatever the fields that you require to be mapped against these attributes that you see on the right side, and then make sure that your vendor ID, this field is a mandatory field, but the other fields are not mandatory. But there are different entities would have different mandatory fields, and pay attention to that. So that's where you can do that, and then you can actually import the data either manual or you can manually import it, or either you can actually do the scheduling as well. So that's how you can do here. So if I go to the refresh settings, I can show you here what we have. So I selected here refresh manually, but if you want to refresh automatically, you can do that. And if you notice the best part of it, let me say I want to refresh 10 minutes, but it doesn't allow me. This is what I wanted to show, because it's a refresh frequency exceeds allowed limit of 48 refreshes per day. It doesn't give you that. So that's why you need to make sure that you know how you're planning your refreshes, and it needs to be within that, the 48 refreshes per day. That's the exceed. If you exceed that allowed limit, then it doesn't give you, right. So it says pre-select the value greater than 30. So that's, see, it's every 31 minutes or 30 minutes. You'll be able to refresh it. So basically, well, I'll just keep it as manual for the moment. Go back to the data and I'll show on the options what are available. So let's say, God, that build plan is basically for the master scheduling. Let me take something which is shipments. Basically, let's say shipments. Set up a connection. So if you go into the set up a connection, that you will see your data source. So this is where it comes handy, because you can take data from different databases, SAP, IBM, Oracle, um, Google query, or you can take it from even from the, you can use the OData. So the OData is where I was using the to take the vendor details basically, or you can use the ADL. Azure Data Lake should be also here, I believe. Azure SQL Database, Azure Data Explorer, Azure Synapse here. So that's where it comes handy. You can use different Azure tables or Azure blobs. So there are a lot of ways that you can actually bring in data here. Azure Data Lake storage as well, right? So all those um, methods that you can actually bring it in your data basically. So that's why it's key here, right? So you can bring in my data is where that's actually talking about all your data basically. And if you go to the partner data, what you would see individual partner wise, you can actually get in the data. So one, the best part of it here is because some of the companies maybe doing this manually, but if you have configure your entities basically, and you have your ways of getting it through web API or data or whatever the methods that you're getting it, basically you can actually take your data, and that would give you the insights that you would require basically. So the key on the partner data basically is that you can have to get those information by the individual, the partner, or the basically the vendor or the customer. So mostly in that. So you have supply demand insights, and you have setups here as well. So I'll just be quick. It's 9, so I think we have roughly around 9-10 minutes to go. So you have set up, so the the supply and demand insights, time intervals, KPI targets. You can set it up here. Restock recommendations. So how do you do the restocking? So you have different policy types to select here, right? So these are the options that you have basically. So let me come back to the partner. So let me show how we can create a partner here. So create a new partner. So you can give a new partner. Um, let me say vendor ABC for the moment. Yeah, just say AB supplier. If I have an ID, I would say ID 123 or whatever the ID that you have, and then it's say create. So make sure that your IDs are matching, but I'm just giving a hypothetically whatever the value I'm thinking at the moment, but you get the understanding what I'm doing here. So you just basically create the partner, and then you can actually do the yeah, manage your data, edit. You can remove partners, right? um, Certain things you can do. I think probably one of the things, I don't know whether I mentioned here. Let me check. Yeah, I think I haven't mentioned on this one. The on the admin center you have, if because this comes with a supply sample data, so you can actually remove your sample data if you want to do that. So it might take some several minutes if you want to do that. So it just comes out of a sample data. So if you remove it, you can remove it as well. So that's under the admin center, which I didn't explain earlier. And supplier portal. So the supplier portal here would help you to add a contact. So if you click add contact, so actually can add a contact. So this will go back to the portal management, and it will ask you to create a first name and a last name and then give you email. So basically I'll show whatever the contacts I've already created here. So I've created the contacts here, and I can bring in, let's say, let's go to Chris Pereira, just a hypothetical name again, just to give as an example here. And yeah, let's see that. Yeah, so you can create an invitation here. So you click on the create invitation, and then it'll give you an invitations back. Go back to the invitations will be sending back to your suppliers, and then they can actually join into your supplier portal. So the portal would look like something like this under the home power pages. So this would create a supplier portal here. So that's so I just go into the preview and see it, or we can go into the edit as well. For it comes quickly. So this is the supplier portal basically, which is talking about here supplier portal. So you can add a supplier, and you can add the contact, and you can upload the data, and then you can link contact to a supplier. So that's where that notification was there. So you can actually link Chris Pereira with that contact, or the partner or the supplier here, and then save it. So that's been linked in. So let's go back to the portal to see how the portal would look like. Yeah, so this is actually the backend, I guess. Let me see what it's coming here. Yeah, so this is just the sites, whatever the sites that you have. So you would notice that you have a separate Microsoft Supply Chain Center. So that's the actually environment that I was talking about. So it could create a separate environment on the Power Platform environment. So that's where it's under, and your Power Pages will be, or the portal will be under there as well. So if I go here, just to see how it looks like on the portal. I haven't set it up, but you would see some kind of a supplier portal view here. So this, since it's having admin rights, you would see that I can change here as well on the design part of it. So you get the idea. So that's the supplier portal basically. And go to, yeah, so that's fine. You have also my analytics as well. So if you want to see the analytics that you wish to have, it will be under here as well. So that would come under here. Right. So if you have, once you have the data, you could see your analytics here basically popping up information which would be relevant for you. So you'll have on time in full, inventory turnover rate, supply coverage. So there are different, uh, various charts here which would help you to, and then you have different pages as well on the Power BI. So you have projected inventory, supply coverage. So all these information on the different pages there. So you, and also one of the other things to help show you is the intelligent order management. So if you click on try it for free, so it will actually bringing in the, let's see, bringing in your IOM or in basically that that will be coming up here. So your intelligent order management or the IOM will be coming up. So you click on try it for free. So you can actually spin up intelligent order management for 30 days. And this is actually the intelligent order management. I'm not going to touch on the intelligent order management today, but maybe we can have a separate session to go through that, because that would have all the orchestrations, and there are a lot of features available that you can do the orchestrations, flows, policies, and you have providers, and you have a different insights on that, and monitoring, data anomalies, and all those good stuff you can do in the IOM basically. And just to come back to the Power Platform Admin Center, so I was still working earlier. So Microsoft Supply Chain Center trial. So um, if you have the environment, so that there will be a separate environment created for that, and you can give your rights and all those required rights on that. And one of the other things probably I would show before closing out today is just how you can add a new user as well for this kind of a supply chain insights preview. So if you go into the licenses basically, so I'll show you how to add a new user. So if you deploy as a trial, your account will be directly add into this uh, the, under the licenses basically. So if you go to the licensed users, so if you have the license users, so if you select the, let me see the licenses. If you go to the licenses here, and then if you click on the all products, and then you would see that it's actually Dynamics 365 supply chain insights preview. So that's the one which you need to be aware, because it's not core supply chain center, but it's actually called the supply chain insights, because some of the key features are actually coming from supply chain insights. So it'll be interesting to hear from Microsoft in the future what will be happening with the supply chain insights, and also invent IOM as well, because it's been part of one product here. So it will be interesting as well. So let's wait for those information to come through from Microsoft as well. So just to show what we can do basically here on assign the licenses. So you can select the supply chain insights preview, click assign, and add certain, whatever the user that you want to add here. Let's say Alicia Thomas, I just wanted to add, and then review and assign, and then assign, right? So like, because I think Alicia was already there, probably I'll do another one. Add users, Ali, select, review and assign. So that's assign. So I think it'll reflect, hopefully. Or maybe I didn't click on correctly. Let's see, should coming in. So that should be the way. Let me try again, see how it goes. Review and assign. It says assigned, so hopefully it should be assigned. Yep, but that's the step anyways. So I hope it'll refresh. Yeah, I think it's refreshed already. So that's how to add the licenses. So I think I've covered most of the key aspects and all the all the features which to be, what's been coming up, what's happening behind, and what are the key features which we can see, under the supply chain center. And that's gonna be a great product. I think it'll be really helpful for the the organizations, customers, and yeah, that would be really great. And I'm quite interested. I'm quite excited as well on this product. So let's see what are what would be the future, updates coming from Microsoft. So I think I've covered and touched upon some of the updates. And let me go back to the slides as well, so to finish up with the resources so that you can take some of the other resources from here. So these are the resources that, if you want to have that, I'll just put it in the chat as well after the call, so that helps you. And then thank you.